We are back in the building, back in the building. Hey, Jack Money. How are you, brother?
Bro, good.
Full week back from holidays.
Yes, yeah.
How do you feel?
Bro, really good. Feel refreshed. I encourage everyone, if you work, to take some annual leave.
Yeah,
I think it does you good. It's a doozy. Does you good, good sort of health refresher.
yeah.
From a mental perspective. You just need kind of a couple of weeks away, or even like 2 to 4 weeks. Just go away, reset your body, reset your mind. I think because we're so busy and we do things in a routine, we get so caught up and time gets away from us, particularly like it's already June, bro.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's insane. And then, so that was sort of a breaker between the 6-month period of the year for me.
Yeah.
So obviously you're traveling away soon too as well. So having some time in between just kind of breaks everything up.
Yeah, no, lovely.
Yeah.
And what's probably been the most challenging part coming back to work life and, everyday normal life?
Bro, I reckon just waking up in the morning and not worrying about getting ready for work. I was on the cruise and we would wake up at 9.
Yeah.
Or 8:30 and then roll to breakfast at 9.
Yeah.
And the good thing about going on the cruise was that you had breakfast, lunch and dinner. And you could just rock up to, you had to book your dinner like reservation, but lunch and breakfast, you could go to this restaurant called the Waterfront on the cruise.
Yep.
And you could just ask to be seated and then they'll give you a 3-course meal for those two. Lunch and breakfast.
Yeah, everything just catered for.
Yeah, so I just not having to, but so coming back to that question, sorry, I think just adjusting back to getting up, making my own breakfast and then going to work has been the challenge. And plus the weather just doesn't help because it's so cold, you just want to stay in bed, whereas in PNG it was just humid,
Hot
perfect
sun.
condition. Yeah.
Bellat sun.
Bellat sun.
Well, we were speaking before and we realized that it's been 10 years since we graduated high school.
Yeah.
So I think let's unpack that.
Yeah, that's a long time.
It's a long time ago and we've definitely come a long way.
Yeah.
We wanted to share some experiences that we had leaving school, because I know we both lived out of home.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of challenges that come with living out of home, and we also had different settings in which where we lived.
Yeah.
So I think I spent a bit of time with a roommate, plus also in a share house, plus also living by myself. So a few different experiences. You lived by yourself.
Yeah, predominantly, yeah.
So, I mean, let's unpack that. Let's start with moving out, like, by yourself.
Yeah.
And what that whole process was like for you, like looking for rentals.
Yeah.
What it was like back then.
Yeah, I think we were, I guess, fortunate before COVID happened, and then the inflation and the demand for housing sort of boomed. But it was in 2019. I just decided I think I needed my own space.
Yeah.
So I guess I was lucky enough to had finished uni and had a full-time job. And then when I moved out, I got my boss at that time to write me a reference.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't have I didn't have no qualifications of living on my own before. So that reference helped a lot.
That's
in terms of just a character reference to say, I've been working with her for this however long, and I'm trustworthy, and just to have that sort of backing. And then
because a lot of people I talk to now, you need sort of a rental history.
Yes.
And real estate people, they look into that, or landlords.
Yeah.
They like to get someone who's had a good rental history.
Yeah.
Someone that's been paying their rent on time, that sort of thing. So it's always tough at the start.
Yeah, exactly. So to that point too as well, when I moved out, I struggled a bit in terms of making sure that I paid my rent on time, because sometimes my pay would come in and it'd be, because I got paid monthly.
Yeah.
And
so hard.
so
Monthly. Monthly sucks.
Right. And you'd have, because sometimes in those months you'd have 5-week pay cycles.
Oh,
so you'd miss a week. And if you did it, like you'd plan for 4 weeks without thinking that, when my next pay, because sometimes the way that they do the pay cycles, you get paid on the 15th.
Yeah.
But sometimes if the 15th falls on a Sunday, you won't get your money until the Monday. So things like that where you had to, which was a bit of a struggle.
Yeah.
But I think, I guess just fortunate enough to have that. It was before COVID. I had a good reference from my boss then. Shout out to Eve. If you come across this podcast, it was super helpful when I first got my first job out of uni and started moving out of home. Helped me a lot. So I think having those two things really helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think for me it was...
yourself?
Just moving out. I think my parents had an apartment at Clayfield, which they were renting because my dad kept... he did quite a lot of work here, so it was just a place for them to come and rest if he was traveling to, say, Sydney or Melbourne. Then he'll pop into Brisbane, stay for 2 days, go to Kmart, get all the goods for the family, stock up, and then take a full suitcase back home. Yes. Get like the essentials, like Milo tin and all of that, because back home it's too expensive.
It's so expensive, yeah.
So, they had that apartment, and then after school I just moved into there while I was at QUT early days. Yeah. And I was by myself at that time, so I think it was a struggle for me, but at that time I didn't know it was a struggle. Yeah. Like I was still going with the flow, like figuring it all out, but looking back at it now, like there were lots of things that I struggled with. As most of you know now, I'm a big yes man from the former podcasts. So just there were lots of times where I shouldn't have gone out probably and had too many drinks. Yeah. On a Friday night, on a Saturday night, on a Sunday night, but you just feel like, you're young, you can do it. You got a place to yourself. You can always come back and chill. So looking back at that now, I think I was a bit reckless. Yeah. Bit, what's the word? Guess misbehaving.
Yeah. I guess to that point too as well, you would have been in that situation where the only thing that you had to worry about was just in that instance where you were living, you'd be living in the moment kind of thing, which I guess that's not a bad thing in a way, because it's lived experiences, right? We have to sometimes go through those moments to then, when we come out of it, realize that, I could have done things differently, but also it just made me who I am because of those things. Like now, that better not to do those things. But I think back then, probably didn't have a lot of perspective.
No.
We were just focused on, what was the next, who had the next drink, the next thing, next party, next,
Botanic Bar.
Botanic Bar, exactly.
Catch the train home. Happy days.
Happy days.
So I think there were lots of things that I'm doing now that, like you said, I've learned from those experiences, and it's, made me think about things a bit more now. I guess when I transitioned onto living at Kangaroo Point with Kyle and back in those vivid days. For those of you that didn't come over to Vivid, I know there were millions of people that entered that apartment.
Gateway to hell.
Oh yeah, it was. Lots of bad things happened at that apartment, but lots of fun times too. No, it was good. That was sort of like the first experience of me having to pay my own rent. I think that was 2016. I was a tradie working with one of my mate's dads. Sam Batterston, who's another mate from school. I was working with him and his dad, just on houses, building dreams for people, and we'd usually get there at 4:30 a.m. in the morning, and then you finish at 3:30. So I was like really into it. Like I was enjoying it. I was actually loving it.
Yeah.
And we got paid well. If you worked on a Saturday, you get cash in hand.
Yeah, wow.
So just figuring out that balance, and also, having to pay rent on time. I was paying rent with Kyle. So both of us would, set little reminders for when we had to pay rent, and then deposit into someone's account where the money came out from. So we did that for, I think it was 2 years. And then we went on to, I went on to live in a share house.
Yeah.
I moved back home with my sister. And then...
Where was that at?
Out at Banner.
Right?
Yeah. So moved back home with my sister, which was quite challenging at times, but I think so more rewarding, because like I hadn't spent time with my sisters.
Yeah.
They went to boarding school, and I would only see them on the holidays and catch up with them on the holidays. So I mean, it was good. It was a good experience, and to be able to pay rent and identify those little things about renting an apartment, speaking to your landlord when you have issues.
Yes.
And also just getting your furniture, paying electricity.
Yeah.
All of those utilities as well. They're big things.
Yeah. I think to that point too as well, is that you get those things, once you do them little by little, it then builds those, I guess, time management skills too as well, that we might not seem like it at that time, but it actually helps in terms of making sure that your priorities are right, because then those things are transferable into a workplace. And I think we often see those things as more of an admin ad hoc task to do, but if we look at it on a bigger scale, those little things that you pick up when you do get into work and you have to manage deadlines, ask for things like you're asking your real estate, it's just about building that confidence, I guess, too as well, which I felt when I started working was a bit of struggle, because then when you go and ask your landlord, why is the water not running, you just think it's not a norm, but then it's just about going and that extra mile to just break those barriers that you think at the end of the day, like, all they can do is say no, or say something that isn't, like, you could follow up again, so I think that's just helped me in that sense too as well.
And I think, speaking from my experience, when I was in a share house, I was living with four other mates from school, and it was a really good setup. I think it was probably tough at first, going from just living at home where you have lots of space. You've got your own kitchen.
Yes.
So there were those little things at times that were challenging, because at times we'd have 4 people in the kitchen, like trying to cook dinner. Everyone's on their own sort of time. And you just need to make it work. But we did make it work. I know. I hear a lot of people's stories about, I hate my roommate. And like, they're driving me crazy. But like, it never got to that stage. I think it was because of the people that were there that made it so homely and nice, because they were down to earth blokes as well. Like, if we didn't like something, then someone would just say, fuck, I don't like this. And then, you have an open discussion and say, okay, if you don't like it, well, let's figure out something to do about it. If someone hasn't mowed the lawn on their weekend to mow it, like, everyone else would get up and be like, fucking mate, you missed your turn to mow the lawn. Like, go and do it, like, Monday over, like, get that shit done. So I think everyone in the household was keeping each other accountable, which went a long way in us feeling like we were living at home. So I guess if you're moving out into a share house, make sure you move out with the right people. Pick the right people that are going to make your your home feel like a home, but also keep you accountable. Whether it's little things like, fucking, he left the toilet seat up.
Yeah.
Or like, especially if you've got a girl in your share house, maybe those little things where, you know,
avoidable.
Clean your skitties off the toilet.
Yeah. Nah, that's so true. I think also to that point, when you have bills that are split, having a proper system there where you hold everyone accountable, or, you know, to your point about making sure you pay rent in time. I think there's tools out there that people can have. And there's one that I think someone that spoke to me uses when they buy something. They just add it onto this app, and then it splits out the payment manually. So, if, for example, if you live in a share house and you have to buy dishwashing liquid or laundry detergent, toilet paper, where it's communally used by everyone, like having that app. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but there are some. If you just Google it,
I'm sure they can Google. Yeah.
But yeah, things like that definitely I feel helps a lot. And makes life easier, because I've heard stories where people have said, I hate my housemate. They would shave and leave hair on the sink without wiping it down. Like, don't be things like that where it's just like, come on,
don't be a dirty don't be a dirty seaman. So just pick up after yourself. Make sure shit's freaking nice and tidy.
100%.
And just like, don't be lazy.
No, don't. And I think to that point, did you have housemates that you knew from school? Yeah. So it helps when you have that relationship from school, because you know each other and you have grown up and you've seen the change in that person. So when they move in together, you know their do's and don'ts, and you know what they are like when they do things badly. So
that's so true. But for those people that go into like an actual share house where you don't know anyone, I feel like those share houses, most people that are in there are open people anyway. Because they're willing to live in a share house
and let you come into this space.
So they're quite friendly, open, bubbly. Like I remember when Wafi used to live in a share house down at Kangaroo Point. And he lived with one French guy, one Aussie guy, but he was like Russian, and another Russian guy, but he was full Russian, so didn't know much English. And they were all cool guys. Like, they all went to uni, they all smoked a lot of weed. But like they made the share house work. Because they all found each other quite enjoyable to be around, and they were open with each other straight away. So few little things there, but those things made it work.
That's it. I think like last thing I wanted to flag with you off the back of that, do you remember when we spoke about 10 years away from school, and like how and those mates that you moved into the house with? I don't know if I could live with some of my mates from school, just because like sometimes you're so different with the people that, which can be a good thing at times, but when you have come up and you've spent so much time together at school, you just want to get away from them and have your own space and grow on your own. But when you have certain mates that, to your example before, where you guys are like tight-knit, but obviously appreciate different things that you guys have that's unique, but also brings you together, which I feel that's a good thing too as well. So it goes a long way.
It's interesting because some friends that I still have from school, they see me with these group of boys, and they ask me like, "Oh, are you still hanging out with those guys?" And I go, like I live with them now. And then their whole face changes. Like some people I know, they can't imagine living with people from school because I don't know, they probably weren't that close, or just like being with themselves and don't like to share their privacy with other people. So that's a really interesting point. That there's two sides to it, and we always have to look at both sides.
100%.
Can't judge anyone here on this podcast.
That's it. Yeah, and everyone's just different, I guess. And one thing to that about having my, like I guess the biggest thing for me when I stayed on my own and moved out was my own space.
Yeah.
Which I think it's something that people take for granted, is when you have your own time and space, you're able to sit there and reflect. And that's what I do. Like, not to reflect deeply in your thoughts, but just being, coming home, watching TV or doing things where you can just be on your own self. You don't have to talk to anyone. You can just forget about the day and just come in and switch off completely.
The simple pleasures.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that was one thing that I really appreciated living on my own, which also when I had a partner, or when I was dating Rachel, when I moved out, it made it easier to have my own space because she could come over and feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's not to say when you live in your housemates, it just makes it harder because then there's that chat about, oh, you know, they're spending more time here, they should be paying rent or they should be doing things. So just to avoid all of that altogether was also kind of a reason where I stayed on my own. But then the other side to it was that you missed having blokes that you could come in on a Friday, have a beer with, chat, watch the footy, things like that. So there's always that two sides.
It's a balance.
Yeah, that's it.
It's 100%. A balance, mate. That's life. 10 years out of school.
Yes, that's it.
And we're still figuring shit out.
That's it. Another 25 years, I reckon.
That's another 25 years on the podcast. And,
yes.
We'll be somewhere, I reckon. We'll be somewhere.
100%.
Well, no, thanks for another short, sharp ep.
That's it.
J Money.
That's cool.
We'll see you guys in the next